As a longtime anime fan, a trip to Japan was an absolute must. Yes, I am that kind of person, but at least I'm not pretending that I'm not. And so, as I graduated high school in 2025, I made a very, very bad decision. Not the worst, but definitely not a good one. I mean, who in their right mind would make their first solo trip ever at the age of 19 be in a foreign country that doesn't speak a lot of English? Me, I guess. You should never do this, but nevertheless, I was going. After all, I already bought the tickets. So October rolled around, bags packed, body ready, and I said goodbye to my family. One 15-hour flight later, and I was finally in Japan. I waited so long for this, dreaming of this moment, and I was here. I was not prepared for this trip. I am not built for Japan. And as someone who was going it alone, I just had to figure it out. Immigration, figured it out. Train tickets, figured it out. How on earth to navigate the Japanese train system and get to my hotel, figured it out. Okay. I'm making this out like it was no fun. But really that's not true at all. This trip was in fact one of the single coolest experiences of my life. So let's take a trip down memory lane. Considering day one was really just transportation's greatest hits, I would consider my actual first day to be my technical second, and I'll pair this day with the third because I went to see the Disney of Tokyo's land. Okay, I'll stop with the terrible puns before this actually happens to me. But yes, I spent a day at both of the Disney parks in Tokyo. Now, if you aren't a relative of mine watching this, then you wouldn't know that I actually quite like Disney. I don't use love, as I'd rather not give the impression that I'm one of those Disney adults that meticulously follows the going-ons of Disney parks even when they're not visiting, listens to multiple podcasts about Disney, and has a YouTube recommended that I would kindly describe as focused. By the way, sorry to those relatives, don't mean to call you out like that. Oh right, my trip. The two parks are stunning. Disney Sea was especially amazing. The word I would use to describe it would be gorgeous. Everywhere you go, there's something to see, and the scale of it all is just incredible. I really think that you could spend a whole day just walking around looking and taking pictures if you wanted. The rides were also really cool, with my personal favorite being the Sinbad Dark Ride. I just loved the song that went along with the ride, and it was something you would never see in any other Disney park. Not to mention it was practically a walk-on, which made it so much better since pretty much all the other rides in the park had a 40-minute wait minimum. Mind you, this was a Thursday in October, so I'd hate to imagine what the line for Frozen would be like in peak season. Speaking of, there were these two wooden statues of Elsa and Anna in the queue for Frozen, and they were some of the most creepy and uncanny looking things I've ever seen. Moving on to Disneyland, and while not as visually stunning as Disney Sea due to its similarities with other castle parks, it absolutely had its highlights. Most notably, the Beauty and the Beast castle is stunning and houses a top-tier ride. Not to mention the surrounding town really fills the area out nicely. The other spot that really stood out to me was the Queen of Hearts banquet hall. And while I didn't go inside this restaurant, it was clear enough from the outside that this place was insanely awesome. Just the outer facade of this place had so much detail, with a layered hedge maze and a small model of the Queen of Hearts castle on top of it. I mean, seriously, for a restaurant? The unique rides at Tokyo Disneyland were also very cool, with the Beauty and the Beast one I mentioned earlier being one I liked a lot, along with their Winnie the Pooh ride that uses these super cute plush versions of the characters and some really cool moving environments. I also got to ride Splash Mountain again, which was pretty sweet, since you can't exactly do that in the States anymore. However, I have to say two things really quick. First, the wait times made 0 sense. Specifically the wait for Dumbo and the Carousel. Tell me why they had 25 to 30-minute waits, while rides like Small World, Pinocchio, and Roger Rabbit had 20-minute or less waits. I'm not saying that Small World should have a 30-minute wait, but why does Dumbo have a closer wait to Thunder Mountain than to Small World? And I almost forgot, since it's such a nothing ride, but the Baymax ride, that's just this ride in Orlando, and just as boring, had an hour-long wait time. An hour! It makes no sense. Second, I'm not even sure if I'm upset more than I'm just confused, but they have a Peter Pan ride at Disney Sea, which is completely original and unique. They also have a Peter Pan ride at Disneyland. It might be familiar if you've been to Disney World's Magic Kingdom. And when I say familiar, I mean it's the same ride. The exact same. You know what? I'll just let me from my trip explain it.
It is, and this is more strange that it's the exact same. I mean exact same, pretty much. Like maybe minimal changes, but like the animatronics. I don't get. Did they make two of them when they made the ride back in like 1960? Because they are the same as the ones in Disney World. And it doesn't make any sense because this park is not that old. It is like probably like 30 years younger than Disney World. And I know that's like, one of the rides that when the park came out. This is not the same. But but strangely enough, the ride is the exact same, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, so past me was a little uneducated, but I still think he made a point. It's crazy that 12 years later, they made almost the same ride. Closing thoughts on Disney parks in Japan, they're really good. I value my theme parks, okay? And while I would definitely say that they could use another ride or two in each of the parks, though that might just be because 4 of the rides were closed when I was there, they're otherwise very well done parks, with Disney Sea having exceptional theming and just being so darn pretty. Enough about Disney. Get on with it, I hear you saying. Just like that, by the way. Moving on to literally anything else that isn't Disney. My trip was split between a week in Tokyo and a week in Osaka, and I should let you know I wasn't always the most active tourist. I had a couple days that I did essentially nothing, maybe a little walk or a visit to the grocery store, but other than that, just stayed in my room all day. Cut me some slack, okay? I'm a human being who gets tired. Great. Now that I've reassured myself, I can tell you about the things I did do. For starters, I went to Akihabara. Should add up with what I said at the beginning of the video, but if I wasn't clear before, I'll say it again. I am a huge nerd who likes anime and all of that. My first stop was at a Crane Game arcade, at which I spent 1,000 yen, got nothing, and decided then and there I wouldn't spend a single yen more on a claw machine. If I wanted a figure, I'd use the foolproof strategy of buying it. That's it, and buy I did. One single figure. I think you'll come to learn that I'm not a very interesting tourist, though I am very happy with my one Hatsune Miku figure. Wait, who's Hatsune Miku? I hear no one ask. Well, to give a brief and understandable explanation anyways, Hatsune Miku is a virtual idol who was designed as the mascot for a voice bank software. Miku's voice was modeled from a real person, Saki Fujita, and it's kind of like an instrument in the music making software, but, a voice that sings. Both the songs of Miku and the character herself are wildly popular, with some appearances of Miku being the new Sonic racing game, a music and art collaboration with Pokemon, Fortnite, and performing at Coachella. You can't go far in Japan without seeing Miku, and honestly, I'm here for it. I've gone on a little long about Miku though, so let's get this rolling, girl. More on shopping. Have you ever been inside a donkey? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Have you ever been in a shop with a funny little blue penguin on it where it plays a stupidly catchy song and the inside of it looks like it would make for a better metaphor than a needle in a haystack? These are wild stores. Narrow aisles, a maze-like design, multiple floors, and an irresistible song. That's what happened in Akihabara, but I also went to Ikebukuro, which is pretty much Akihabara too. I spent my time there exploring Sunshine City, which is this huge shopping mall that has a Pokemon Center, which, when I walked in, had a big screen displaying an animated Gardevoir on it. Not sure who that's appealing to. Humongous Pokemon fan here, by the way. I will say the one in Ikebukuro is definitely not the best. Kinda lackluster. Though it was still pretty cool, and the majority of the floor in the building was completely dedicated to Pokemon. There was also this super cute Ghibli store. More on that later. Something that occurred to me here though was that every show and game has trading cards. That's an exaggeration, but still, it's kind of ridiculous. Dragon Ball, trading cards. The newest Gundam anime, trading cards. Quintessential quintuplets, trading cards. Though, even more than that, everything has Gachapon merch, outside of a lot of stores. I'm talking probably a third. You'll find these gacha machines, which have merch from just about anything in Japan and outside it. My will held strong, though I did roll the dice once for a Snoopy keychain that I gave to my mom. After Ikebukuro, I wanted to get some fresh air, so I went to this little garden by the new Otani Hotel, which was a godsend. I am no city boy, and the lack of trees was genuinely getting to me, so this little piece of serene nature was a gem in the concrete jungle of Tokyo. I mean, dude, this place had a waterfall. That, however, was the end of my time in Tokyo. And now I was on my way to Osaka. That means it's Shinkansen time. It's fantastic. Get you where you want to go and fast. Which would be great if I wanted to get to Osaka fast. But my checkout time was 10 a.m. and check-in time was 4 p.m. I got to Osaka at 1. I walked around the area for a while, but that wasn't enough. So I waited 2 hours in a public park, just sitting there on my phone, outside, while the Japanese businessmen on their smoke breaks looked judgmentally at me. The happiness I felt when I walked into my room would be hard to describe. So I'm going to describe it anyways. The happiness felt by a mother when she looks at her newborn baby pales in comparison. A happy couple's wedding day means nothing. Disney isn't the happiest place on earth because in that moment my hotel room brought me more joy than Christmas Day. Where was I? Right, Osaka. Yeah, I took the day off. Not great weather, so I decided to just go grocery shopping and walk around a bit. That is, if Japanese supermarkets didn't open so late. Because what do you mean the store doesn't open until 9:30? This happened in Tokyo too. I just didn't mention it because this was the one that really got to me. I can understand not being open at the crack of dawn, or even opening at 8 or something. But 9:30? 9:30! I mean, we're well into the day at that point. But not grocery stores. They just like to take their sweet time, don't they? I'm not upset, you're upset. Well, anyways, that was that, and the next day was a big one. Started off with a visit to Osaka Castle, which was very cool and super pretty. But it was really surprising how much of it you could walk around and see for completely free. You only need to pay to go inside, which was genuinely a shock. I had a sandwich that I packed, so I sat down and ate there and had a really relaxing time. There was also this guy ripping a Kadama performance right in front of the castle. He was sick, 10 out of 10. After that was Shinsaibashi, in a huge building full of stores and another Pokemon Center. I got 2 plushies there. One was Esper, which is one of my favorite little guys. Ain't nothing going on behind those eyes. The other is my favorite Pokemon of all time, Vaporeon. Shut your mouth right now, okay? This has been my favorite Pokemon since I was like 6 when I played my first Pokemon game, Fire Red. My friends make fun of me for it, and if you know, you know, but screw you. Let the water dog be my favorite in peace. There was another Ghibli store here, which was even cuter than the other one, with a big Totoro statue and the train from Spirited Away. I didn't get a picture of the train since it was a photo spot where you sit in it, and, well, being alone doesn't exactly lend itself to photos like that. There were some other really cool stores, like this one with a giant hamburger, or this Capcom store that had Okami merch. This was genuinely one of the most exciting finds of my trip, since Okami isn't the most popular game, but it's one of my favorites. I actually ended up lining up my day at perfect times, because after shopping, I arrived at the Osaka Aquarium pretty much right on time. The aquarium was great. It's a little unfair, since one of my only comparisons for aquariums is the one in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, the biggest in the world, but this was still a unique experience. For one, the outside is a very impressive design. There's a hit with droves of tourists in a school field trip, and I'm pretty sure I narrowly missed visiting the aquarium at the same time. There were also a fair amount of animals that you don't get in America, namely the species of dolphins and seals they had. The layout was also really cool, since at a certain point you would circle around the large Pacific Ocean exhibit that held whale sharks among many other kinds of fish, and you also got a different point of view of exhibits you visited previously. After making your way through all the exhibits, it plopped you out in a gift shop. But there was a very strange decision made. This shop is right next to an open-air penguin exhibit. A notoriously smelly animal is put next to an area they would encourage you to spend time in. I don't get it. As you may have guessed, I did not stay long, then went home and passed out as I did every other day. A new day means a new destination. This time was Shitanochi Temple, which I personally didn't get many pictures of since I wanted to respect the areas that were no photography zones. But there are still many pictures online, which is great, since this place was beautiful. It really felt like a sacred place even in its urban surroundings. There was one building in particular that stood out to me though. Inside this building was a stunning golden Buddha statue that towered in the room, accentuated by the lanterns hanging around it and these two statues to its left and right. I really wish I could have pictured this myself, but I wanted to be respectful in a sacred place like this. It's really important to always do your best to be respectful of the customs and the places you visit. There's my little PSA for all the travelers out there. Now that I've completely solved the rude tourist problem, I'll mention I also went to this cool place called Nambyashiji Shrine. Didn't stick around too long, but it looks awesome. I mean, this is a religious site that you pray at and stuff. That's awesome. Don't got much else to say about it. Just looks pretty sick. Now for the last big thing I did in Osaka and my trip in general. I went to Nihon Bashi Denden Town, which is this really long road of otaku shops. You got card shops, CD and record shops, maid cafes, which I will go on the record and say I did not go to any, figure shops, and lots of crane games. I said earlier that I wouldn't spend any more on them, and you know what? I never spent a single yen on those scam machines. I have been reborn on this foreign soil. Never again will I gamble away my money. Gacha is nothing but a money-sucking vampire, and though it is so alluring with its promises of an item I could purchase for a very reasonable price and a hit of dopamine, I will not yield. Yeah, so I spent 500 yen for a pack of One Piece cards. Look, I said no more crane games. I didn't say anything about card packs. I also got one of my only pieces of Legend of Zelda merch I saw on my whole trip, as well as a Masayoshi Takanaka CD. I wanted an Anri CD. You might recognize her from this song. Though I would discover that this store did not in fact have any CDs of her. I'm realizing now that the only thing I bought here for myself was that pack of One Piece cards. I really am a disappointing tourist, aren't I? Well, that won't be a problem, since I wouldn't be a tourist much longer. My last morning in Japan was here, and I got to spend it peacefully, knowing that I needed all of the patience I could muster today. Why, you might ask? Well, my dear viewer, I had a day of nothing but waiting ahead of me. Waiting for the bullet train to get to Tokyo. Waiting for the train to get me to the airport. Waiting for my flight that was more than 5 hours from the time I got there. And then, of course, waiting for my plane to land back in the US. Let's get more specific here. I woke up at 7 a.m. in Japan. My plane departed from Japan at around 8 p.m. and I arrived home at 7 p.m. EST. 25 hours with an hour nap mixed in. That day was as thrilling as you might imagine, but all in all, I was happy to be home. Closing thoughts. I want to mention some things that were kind of random. First, I'm pretty sure Japanese people, or at least those in the more southern regions, are immune to the heat, because tell me why it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit out and they are wearing jeans and a jacket. It was even worse at Disney because there was a solid 1% of the whole park wearing full-on cosplays. I'm talking legit outfits, wigs, the whole shebang. And I know 1% might not sound crazy, but that means 1 in every 100 people are in cosplay. Wild. Also, they're real. Those old Asian grandmas that are super tiny and all hunched over are real. I saw this one little old lady that was at a full 90-degree angle from the waist. I hit my head so many times on the train. The rings they have to hold on to are just low enough that they hit my head if I don't duck a little. Also, I thought it was really funny that they call silent mode on their phones manner mode. Like, not translated or anything. Like, it's literally like mana modo, which is just manner mode in a Japanese accent. Vending machines everywhere. I didn't see any super unusual ones. I could literally walk 20 feet from one to the next. Since my trip was 2 weeks, I got 2 weeks of Shonen Jump. I also bought the first volume of One Piece, which I imagine is like if a 5-year-old tried to read The Hobbit. They know how to read, like a few words, but it's gonna take them 10 minutes to read a page. I am that 5-year-old. Well, I guess that really wraps up most of what I had to say. This trip was genuinely incredible, and I'd like to think of it as a reminder that if there's something you wish you could do, no matter how big or small it is, then you should work towards doing it. Thanks for sticking around. It's been real, it's been fun, it's been real fun. Remember to leave a like and subscribe. Later.